ready whenever.
Yeah, I'm going to just go into the start. Let's get this a little more in. All right. We're good.
Ready? Welcome, all you super fans out there, to the BANGover podcast. This week's episode is fresh fruit from rotten vegetables. What a mouthful. The Dead Kennedys, fresh fruits for rotten vegetables.
Fresh fruit and rotting vegetables. Four, yes.
I said it.
Don't
You fuck me up for life on that one. I'm gonna sound like a dumbass talking to people at a bar when I've been drinking. Yes.
I always thought it was and, but
I think I used to say and.
yeah.
Fresh fruits for rotten vegetables. Rotting vegetables.
Rotting.
I will leave right now. I apologize. I apologize, Jello, and the rest of the Dead Kennedys. Goodbye. No, I'm still here. As Scott Allen, because I am him. And with me, as always, Chris Myers.
Howdy doody.
He's the one that does all the real work. I just try to give personality to all this. And today, I am the super fan here. I don't know about you, Chris, but I am a huge, huge Dead Kennedys fan. We're metalheads, right? But this is one of my favorite, like, outside of metal bands. Like, hold it very highly, like, top 5 bands for me. As soon as I heard this album, which was, I don't know why we lived this way in the 2000s, but we lived like it was 1980s, and we used to just pass albums back and forth, you know? I think that's just kids, you know, because you don't have money of your own. So it's like, you know of the album, but you can't go buy it because you don't have any money, you know? And the internet wasn't that big of a thing when we were a kid. Not like how it is now. Like, you know, Spotify and YouTube was just up and coming, really. 2005 is when it started. So we, like, you know, just got hand-me-downs, and we got like a hand-me-down of Dead Kennedys, but it was a hand-me-down. It was like a really good worn shirt, but none of that goes good with an album, like a good worn album. No, you don't want that. Like a vintage album. Like,
Yeah.
I think now it like hangs on our wall somewhere in, Justin's mom's old place where we all hung out. Still there, like in one of the rooms, because it is just dissolved itself. Half the songs had a little bit of a skip, and you just had to know how to like fast forward it the right way without skipping the song. But I loved it from start to finish. This album, every song from Kill the Poor, and then even like the more well-known ones like California Uber Alles.
For being the first album, it's
Holiday
got
in Cambodia.
a lot of the like quote hits. You know what I mean? Like, and
Right.
even then, it's like the production of those hits is really good. Like those songs stick out on this album because they're that good.
Oh, they're insanely unique, and we'll get more into that here in a second. But Chris, but when did you hear this? Was it just in the group, like because we were blaring it? Because it was like me and Ryan that got the album and just fell in love with it, like just absolutely like listened to it. We used to pass it back and forth, and then we finally made like a permanent trade for it.
I'm not like the biggest Dead Kennedys fan, so I'm not gonna come on here and start like listing off like facts about every member and every year and stuff. But I do like them, and I think they like for me it was Tony Hawk again because they had Police Truck in the first game. Maybe?
It was, yeah.
So that was the first time, and then throughout just from then on, it was kind of like that sound I recognized. So every time I would hear another Dead Kennedy song, I'd be like, oh, this is that band, or just like associate them with, you know, the logo. And then they kind of, for me, were in that period of like I had already consumed so much other punk that by the time Dead Kennedys was like got to me, or just kind of was like, here, check this off.
You were like,
I was like,
this
I'm
stuff.
already kind of like into the next genre because I've already filled myself up with like Ramones and shit, you know, Gray Matter, just every band, like punk skate band I could get into at that time. I was like trying to like absorb.
So it was a little too late for you. A little bit, like still like it, but like if you would have got it a little bit younger before maybe you got too far into the punk, you might have felt maybe a little bit more in love with it. You think?
I think if it would have, yeah, maybe like if it would have been that CD instead of this CD,
Right.
sort of a thing. It's not a matter of like not liking it or even. It's
just the timing.
time. Like, yeah, just
Hey,
one of those things.
And being musicians,
But then
we
you
know
but,
timing.
but you get to it's kind of like all those other things we talk about where it's like you pick up on it at a certain point where other people are already dissolved from it. So like for instance, you and Ryan are already sharing it by the time or done sharing it by the time I'm like maybe rediscovering it in a way. So it's like I'm catching on at a different point but still like enjoying it. Like I haven't heard this whole album up since like high school just because that was like at that point of consuming a lot of music and listening to the whole album all the way through and stuff.
Right.
So it was like, while all the songs seem super familiar and I know all the hooks and the choruses and whatever, and where the next part's going to go in the song, it's not like I can like repeat it or write it down or it's like on the back of my hand sort of a thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I know that like.
And we always make that joke here. Apologies if you hear the lawnmower in the background. I will destroy everyone that does lawn work here. We always joke around with the name, the inside joke, Ryan CD case.
Yeah.
Because we all had like Bible, big, like 5 times bigger than the Bible of CD cases, each one of us. And he had every Dead Kennedys. From the live to the compilation to singles, like he was out to collect it, just like the Misfits, like
Even if it was like doubling
rocker.
up on stuff, EP, you know what I mean? It's like you'll double up on stuff.
Well, because
the
you'll
Japan edition, you see this weird
special
bonus
release.
track, So that's something I never did with this band, but I do like again. It's one of those. This band is like kind of like the Misfits in that sense. Like we talked about it in that episode, where like they are very iconic and they left this sort of like they followed all the tropes, but in a good way. For like punk, like you have the image, you have the charismatic lead singer, you have different song topics that are like kind of political. Because a really good punk band is a band that's like sort of like fuck the system. They're kind of political by nature,
right? And it was more. I don't think any of those punk bands were their main idea when they first started this. I say most of them, not all of them. Their main idea was in any way to make this political. But the timing, 1980s, where you're living, what's going on in the country, the world involved them into the politics. So this is how they explain it from their side.
Yeah.
This is their voice being shouted out because they don't have a podium to stand on or, time to buy commercials and go to fucking City Hall to complain and no one listens. This aggression, this group of people moving all as one like an army, it gets people to notice. It gets, people to turn their heads, but in the worst way possible because they were looking at them in a bad way, and then they were really starting to get fucked with, So
with the name like Dead Kennedys, that's what you're coming out as. You are like already political, like in that sense.
Yeah, the punk rockers are just hanging out with all the different people at this time that are not accepted in society. So cops would love to go fucking, raid these clubs all the time for bogus noise complaints. And this is during the time of like Joel Feinstein, like taking over California, passing laws to like raise rents, and you could see that a lot on this album, where like Lynch the Landlord Man was all getting back at that, things like Kill the Poor. I mean, it was made political to them because they kept finding themselves in the middle of it. It's not like they were looking for it. They were coming at them, attacking them, cops breaking up shit, them getting arrested, getting fucked with, walking down the street, late at night alone.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So of course you're going to do this. You know what I mean? Of course this is what's going to come from when you push a group of people to the brink, And who doesn't love the hardcore scene? Because this is right where it kicks off, is like 1980s when we have this album come out. And everyone from, we get Black Flags, the Bad Brains, Minor Threats, just to name a few. Like we had
Yeah.
the big boys. Oh, it's like fucking awesome, and it was just exploded. And Dead Kennedys was a band in like 19. I know it says 1978 on here, but I really thought it was 1977. I don't know what's wrong.
I mean,
can't,
it's one of those like
tomato. It could be off by months.
months. Yeah, months.
Knows? You know what I mean?
2 months is the change
Yeah.
of a year. And
Exactly. And you also said you were like, wow, what great songs to have on your first album. But it really comes down to like that they just had so much content before releasing their first album that it actually flowed into the second album. So the whole idea was coming out with this album was for one reason and one reason only, and it's to go on tour. Because going on tour on a single is just not very smart, and it just, you really don't have anything to sell. We talked about this before. It's the main reason why, like, I could get mad in any band that I'm in, and they're like, let's go on tour. And I'm like, what about the merch? I need it well thought out. I need it to be for something and not just, like, out there just playing shows.
Yeah.
Like, I get that, the experience things, but it should be worth something. We should come back as a band and, like, have made new fans, or it felt like in some way we pushed the needle to really outdo ourselves the next
It's
time
got to be
around.
worth it.
Yeah, sell
it's gotta,
shirts.
like,
Try to come out even so we not lose a bunch of money, because that's usually
Then you're just paying to play, and it's like
then you've already lost. It
Yeah.
feels like, because what's the point of that? Like, okay, we'll just pause this for a little bit and just talk a little bit about the day we're recording this. I know we're late on the anniversary, but this thing's been swelling up for months now. This whole playing music on your YouTube channel, your Twitch stream, posting music on your Facebook page and getting flagged for it.
we don't play music anymore because of that, just to like not even have to deal with those gatekeepers,
Right.
because they are robots and machines, and they don't have a face or like someone to necessarily directly reach and contact. So if your stuff gets flagged, you're kind of left to your own devices to either remove it from your content or re-upload new content. So I think us as musicians and creators too, we are in this like standstill of like, how do I put my music in my content without infuriating or even ticking off some of the publishers or other people that
setting
are
off an algorithm.
tripping off something, or like, and even if it is your own content, that's a whole other thing. Facebook is cracking down, and they own Instagram, so that'll be two platforms that are sort of going about it. And it seems like them in particular, they've signed some sort of deals. They want to pay these bands, and it seems like the bands want to be paid. It just seems like everyone wants their bases covered. So us as creators and musicians, it's like, I get that.
Right.
I get like I don't want people taking our stuff and not crediting us.
Think about it on the other side of it, that if these rules weren't in place, that other people can come in and steal your music, post it, and start making profit of something you have, and then could even argue that they own it before you based on the numbers that they have. That is a possibility. At the same time, it's probably less likely, going to happen in most situations, I'm saying. But these rules are a little harsh in one way. It's that it's really just taking away from people that are trying to be educators about music. I'm a drummer, but I'm not the world's best drummer. So I love going to YouTube pages and watching people play other people's songs to show me how to play them or do breakdowns on that. And that stuff is getting flagged constantly, where some of my favorite YouTube pages are getting shut down. Yeah. And they help me become a better musician.
It seems to be like
information should be free about this. Like, having to pay for something that, like, who owns this? No one. So it should be out to the public.
It's the whole live streaming on Facebook where you have somebody playing music or something, DJs, musicians. That's going to be done with, as far as, it's really hard to regulate that live stream sort of thing. And so already Facebook is how many times on the news you see Facebook because someone shared like a video of somebody dying, or somebody, you see, all these cop killings is from social media and stuff. So this is just them trying to step up and like take the music point head on, where it's like, you know what, instead of people just the wild wild west and everyone can post whatever, any music that gets triggered is done. So
right. You can lose your account.
You could lose your account. So like YouTube, for example, is like right now at least the only platform that does flag your account, but depending on the deals you have and how big you are, you could get by, because people love watching, like you're saying, drum videos or reactions, or like these things are consumed a lot, and I think it's a normal thing now, but it's how do the people that made the original content get anything from it?
Right.
So
here's one little trick that you can get around being a music creator that has a Facebook page, Instagram, or if this YouTube thing is acting weird. It's only songs that are published. So if you put it on iTunes, Spotify, you have a song like that, and then you repost that song without using those links of Spotify, whatever.
If it's built into the algorithm, then it's going to get caught. But if you never uploaded it, it will never get caught.
So listen, you can just create songs right there on the spot, or just make songs and just record them and put them on there, because they won't get flagged for original content.
I think what's going to happen is you're going to have this.
To pick that up.
You're going to have places like Reddit where they're still kind of the Wild West, where you can stream and like post whatever.
Twitter.
Those are going to start flourishing, I think, with people. The people already post their new music there, but they have to link it. I think these external sites are going to have to come up with ways, or there will be a third part. There will be a.
We'll get the Reverb Nation back up. We'll push Bandcamp it's harder than we've ever pushed it before.
It's just fine. You know how like Radiohead self-publishes their stuff, and Tool, for example, these bands are able to still be on iTunes but regulate themselves in a way. And I think in the future that we're gonna get to a point where like bands do that, where it's. I mean, again, it's hard for that one band to contact YouTube, but
it's like if you just had the LLC and you had the right people to talk to them to be like, hey, stop flagging my stuff because it's us that's posting it. But you would have to go through the right channels.
I mean, Bandcamp kind of does that already, in a sense, where like imagine you go to Bandcamp and you put your free EP up there. People are able to pay for it, download it, and consume it, but it's still not triggering any of these Google things.
Right.
So Bandcamp, at least right now, seems like the one platform for musicians to extremely utilize. You just won't be able to share that music on those platforms. You could link to it.
So what Instagram needs to do is be able to add links into posts, because you can only have one website on your
profile. Yeah.
So how am I supposed to link them over to my YouTube page? Am I supposed to just be like, hey, type in this?
Well, it seems like what people are doing is
this?
like, hey, link in bio. And they'll say link in bio, and then
but that's like for like maybe just your YouTube.
You got to go the whole page. You're not able to link to a video or like a specific piece of content. Yeah, I mean, these platforms that are people use them and take advantage of them in a way to like. I mean, they have it built in where it's like business stuff, built into the platform, so they know what they're getting into, but. I think it's the whole sharing of property that's getting a little...
Or just being able to entertain the idea of someone else's song. So therefore, we can't even talk about awesome old songs or like a Metallica song. Like if we wanted to, get some instruments and just play a Metallica riff for the audience, we would get flagged.
Yeah.
We would have to literally like change the riff to where it's wrong. And go from there. Lyrics will get totally fucking red flagged, but you know what won't? Which I don't think they can do this. Drum beats.
I mean, if they're iconic, if they're like...
Yeah. It's just the rhythm sometimes and the melodies that they...
So like...
I know... we brought this up on this episode because we were like, Dead Kennedys.
They're very political, so it's...
Well, they're very outspoken about when it comes to the music industry and always saying, fuck you, straight into the face of the music industry and walking away just scot-free. You know what I mean? A lot of bands couldn't do that. You start saying fuck you to producers or like major labels or to even venues. Like, that shit's not going to fly. You're not going to get any more gigs. But they did it, and since the crowd loved them so much, it's like, fuck, we can't touch them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can't touch them. They're too good. So let's get back to the Dead Kennedys on this. If you guys have not followed anything that Jello Biafra does, please go do that on all the Spotify's. I love his YouTube page. It's Alternative Tentacles on YouTube. And right now he's doing like what would Jello do, especially in this time of the pandemic. It's
What would Jello do?
yeah. So he talks about things like wearing a mask in the beginning, or like the postal service and what Trump is, and look back at this album that we're talking about. Some of the titles, stealing people's mail. It was all right there. Like it's kind of sad that like all these things and these political albums are still a problem today. Maybe even the Cambodia thing. I don't know. I haven't done a lot of research of what's going on in Cambodia right now. But it was really bad back then. Hence, Holiday in Cambodia, about the killing fields over there, and just the atrocities of millions of people. It's so much. If you guys want like a more in-depth of Dead Kennedys history, the story, and the breakdown, I've been listening to a fantastic podcast called No Dogs in Space on the Last Podcast Network. You can find it on Spotify. That's the only place, actually, you can find it. But it's still free, even if you don't have Spotify. They're doing they do like 3-4 part episodes on a band in that type, or in a scene. Right now it's punk, so they're on the Dead Kennedys, and I'm about halfway through it, but so much good stuff. And me and Chris, we're musicians. We're not comedians, and we haven't been doing this for 10 years.
Share some of that good stuff. We gotta.
Yeah, it's really informative. So if you want more of a breakdown of all this, please go check out that podcast, because they have the ability to play songs since they're partnered with Spotify. So maybe one day we'll get that. If Spotify's listening right now, which I think they are. Yeah. So let's get back to recording the album. Remind me on this, the goddamn label, not a label, but the studio
is Mobius, I think.
Red Cherry Red, where they recorded this album.
Mobius Music in San Francisco.
Mobius, but I was looking at Cherry Red.
That's the label.
That was the label that was like, here's a little bit of money, go in there and record it. So you got any little breakdowns on this?
I mean,
any little fun facts?
That's what I said. Did you learn any facts in your diving of this?
Of the making of this album? So it was really weird that I didn't know this before, that Dead Kennedys used to be a 5-piece. They used to have 2 guitar players. And let's see some of the members' names. I'm going to look over, because it's 6025. That's his name, right?
Yeah. And
right.
That's his real name is Carlos Cadona.
Right. He was an original part of the band, left in 1978.
Whereabouts are unknown.
I thought he died. He's just unknown whereabouts?
Nobody knows.
Weird.
Current the band he disappeared from the public eye. Very little information is known about him, and his current whereabouts and circumstances around his departure of the band remain unknown.
Yeah, it's not like he had a very iconic look or anything,
Yeah.
Like a tattoo on the face that really made him stand out. That was the thing about the Dead Kennedys. Like, aside from Jello Biafra, as if you're watching the live video here, he is flipping shit on stage. What makes it so cool? Such a great part of the Dead Kennedys was the live show.
Yeah.
But the rest of the band, if you notice, just regular looking people, collared shirts, college kids, like they're like 19, 20, just regular bunch of dudes. But we get up there and just shred, a great bass player, great guitar player, fantastic drummer. So good. But they had this rhythm guitar player, 6025, which didn't work out because he was more into prog. Isn't this weird? But he was credited on this album because he didn't record with them, but more so that he wrote some of the songs on this. So he did what's the song list? I want to say it's the second song. It's really depressing. Forward to Death. Yeah. A very depressing song.
Yeah.
And he also did, let's see, Ill in the Head. So he like co-wrote those two with Jello Biafra, and I think he just wrote Forwards to Death. Music-wise, besides for anything like that, it's mainly
he's credited as the main writer for that, and then yes, co-written. Except all tracks were written by Jello besides like just him besides 7 or would that be 14? So 14, 13, 5 is co-written.
And the last song is Viva Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's a cover.
Dead Kennedys fucking does fantastic.
It's a good
covers.
cover, yeah.
Like, they have so many good ones, and that is one of the best ones. Most of the time when you hear that song now, it's usually the Dead Kennedys cover of it. It's kind of like Faith No More, you know?
Or Van Halen.
It's so easy, or it's easy. You always hear the Faith No More one now. It's why it's easy, you know? Or the Van Halen.
I was going to say, I think Van Halen, I don't more than the Faith No More one.
Are you sure? Wow.
I mean, Van Halen,
like
Van Halen
gas
one's
station.
like always on the radio.
I feel like I keep hearing it in like gas station and grocery store. I'm like, Mike?
Are you there?
Mike, are you there? Another fun thing I learned was this drummer. What was the drummer on this album's name? So many names.
Ted. That's
he's the drummer that recorded, but there was another drummer.
Bruce Schlesinger is the drummer. Ted's name.
Oh, right. So
it's all pseudonyms.
Right. This is the only album that he ever recorded with the band. He soon left the band after this and did nothing, which is very surprising because I thought the drums are amazing on this fucking album. His story was pretty funny, how he joined the band. He was looking at flyers of like, bands looking for drummers, and he finds one. It says, punk band looking for drummer, Dead Kennedys, and he's like, hell no, like that's a horrible name. And then he made his own poster, posted it, and the only person that answered back was the Dead Kennedys. So he said fuck it and joined the band, and he was really all about like playing super fast and pushing the band to become faster and faster and faster. Hence why all their songs got to a point where it's just like, it's fucking nuts out there. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's some of the fastest music I've ever heard in my life. Ever. And I love that, like, where it was like the drummer that really just pushed the rest of the band to like really speed up that bass part, speed up those riffs. Like, Jello flies lyrics out of his mouth.
Yeah, there's like, some spitting going on.
Yeah, hot fire. It's insane. I love that little fact. I didn't know he left, but like drummers, we come and go, We're here or there, or we're there forever.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like at least metal has that connotation. Even punk, I guess, to an extent of like...
Yeah, it's like being in multiple bands or just the physical capabilities that it keeps to maintain playing drums at this level. It's like if you take off a year, you're gonna have to like rebuild like a Rocky Balboa like montage to get back to be playing Dead Kennedy style speed songs. It's nuts. Some of the other things I was really homing in on was think about like the time that we were in and what music came before. And I know California Uber Alice is on this album, but it was a single beforehand. And when it first came out, it was, and still is, it was like nothing like anyone's ever heard before.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at with the production of that song, the way it's written.
Yeah,
and like it completely stands out on the album, and then it stands out so much that it actually is this like kind of anthem for the band, and becomes like this anthem for like, just like rebelliousness and like I don't know, you hear that song particularly like in just a lot of like I would say movies and stuff like that. Like it's really iconic for like, shit's popping off.
Yeah. I mean, this whole album's like at least 4 of these songs, or 5, or like played in movies quite a bit. Yeah, that was a total original like curation of music. Like no one has ever made anything like that, and it's so bizarre.
And that's their first recording, so
it's so original. Like nothing has ever been like that. It's mind blowing to me because I'm like,
But
It inspires the shit out of me
for
to like
punk,
do something.
it has this up and down valley where it slows down, you know, knocking on your door, and then it like gradually speeds up, and then it gets super fast right back to its original tempo.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like based after like some weird style of music over like in Vietnam or some place like that where it's like weird Kambuki music. That's what he said. That's what he said. I mean, this Jello Biafra, it's just saying all sorts of weird stuff back then.
Says he one of the rare attempts that he tried to compose the music on bass. So he wrote it on bass, and he wrote it. The lyrics were written by him and John Greenway for the band The Healers.
Yeah, this whole song got all weird too because he's talking about the governor Jerry Brown and kind of like really sticking it to him in this song. But again, you can learn all this and more on No Dogs in Space, but kind of very wrong about him, to be honest, and actually was friends with him later on. But like, you know, just wrote this because he saw something he thought it was, and it's not like it's really hard to fact check back then, so he just, you know, put it that way. I do love, and you can see it right here as you're scrolling through your little wiki, Jello and the Melvins redoing this song with Arnold Schwarzenegger as the
Governor Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, it's so good. It's still just as good. I know. Hey, I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, he's awesome. I mean, I don't really care for someone's political views because sometimes you got to separate that from his artwork. You know, I just like Predator. I like action movies, and he's one of the biggest action stars. You know what I mean? So it's nuts. But man, a lot of this just had to like pop up in there. Like, these songs were just created out of pure necessities of like a call and response back to what like gigs they had to play, or Lynch the Landlord, man, because they were like having riot groups go in full gear and just kicking people out of places, like evicting them to raise the property rent. And that's why California has one of the highest, you know, rents in all of the U.S. still to this day. Joel Feinstein, everyone. But I forgot where I was going with this.
Well, is there any other songs that kind of stand out to you as far as like what you're saying? I mean, for me, it's Holiday in Cambodia too. Also has that like standout quality, which is why it's, you know, one of the singles.
Another song that's kind of like heard everywhere. Like, I don't care if you've never heard of like a whole Dead Kennedys album. Guarantee you've heard this song, that and Viva Las Vegas for sure. But he also says like a really hard N, like, you know, hard R in there. But so they're playing characters on stage. They're political, but they are political in a funny way. It reminds me a lot of War, where it's like they have like, they're talking about issues because only they were living in those issues, but the outside is like kind of still poking fun, like chopping the president's head off and having it spray blood on the crowd. They were just doing stuff to like, it was...
It's also, again, 40
serious,
years ago,
but
so
goofy at the same time. So it's not so like, oh God, like you're preaching to me. Like, it's, you know, because it would come off too preachy. And, you know, some people
40
think,
years.
You know,
I mean, it's so long ago. I'm not excusing any of the topics or words, but I'm just saying it's.
Well, he's never done that again after recording this song.
Yeah.
He's never sung it that way. Really, no. After this, and that's so crazy that this is still being played, and he even thought about taking it out, but it was the manager that made him leave it in. But he's playing a character in this. He's playing a stupid college kid.
Yeah.
Like, you think you're so smart with your degrees. Why don't you go somewhere where there's huge problems happening and help there? If you want to sit here and just fucking talk shit at a coffee bar, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With your fucking hundreds of thousands of dollars of education bullshit, you know? So he's kind of just playing a character and you know, how they would talk in real life in some ways, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is still the 80s, people. Come on. Have you guys been watching Lovecraft Country? It's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
So I know that's like 60s, but still, it's just still going on. But I digress.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing. I think just for the lyrics, I'm not a big lyrics person, but I can recognize, even that this is their first attempt, their debut album, that he's saying a lot. Not only is he like literally saying a lot, and that he's just saying a lot at once, but he's saying a lot in like the whole. Got a tight space here. Everything's all okay. Can't move 2 inches without hitting anything. He's just saying a lot about the times. So
where they're living. Yeah. Like
California. I mean, it's in the name California Uber app.
Yeah. So. I mean, everything. Drug me. When y'all get drafted, it's drafted. It's all fucking right there because it was happening in the fucking time. You know. I love fucking I Kill Children. What a great song. We're so terrorizing, and just to have a shirt that says that, it's great still to walk around to this day. Like, yeah. I myself I'm wearing my Too Drunk to Fuck shirt, Dead Kennedys, which is fantastic. I always forget that I'm wearing it out in public, and my lovely girlfriend Bria would love to just tell me, you do realize what your shirt says? And I'm like, yeah, who the fuck cares? But, you gotta grow up sometime.
The photo on the front is police cars on fire during the White Night riots of 1979, May 21st.
The whole
Harvey Milk stuff.
Whoa,
so
damn.
Yeah.
The assassination of George, the governor at the time, and Harvey Milk. That shit is crazy fucking story. This fucking disgruntled employee goes in there and fucking shoots him. And even crazier that when this guy, he gets arrested for murdering 2 people, and when he's in jail, the cops are like wearing shirts underneath their uniforms that kind of say like free him and giving him special privileges because they hated the governor and the plan on what they were trying to do. You know what I mean? And it's so fucking nuts. Like what was going on, right now. And this, it's going to keep going on. It goes into like the LA riots, and it just keeps fucking happening. We're in 2020, and all this is still irrelevant. You know what I mean? Fuck my face. It's what a slap.
To finish out the personal, you had Jello, of course, we were talking about. East Bay Ray on guitar.
Sick.
Klaus Fluoride on bass, and that's Jeffrey Lyle. And East Bay Ray's name is Raymond John Pepperell.
And you want to say Jello's real name?
Ted Bruce Schlesinger on drums, and Jello is Eric Reed Boucher. And then you have those additional people we talked about, like 6025 doing rhythm guitar. Paul Rosler did keyboards. Nino Chica on keyboards. Dirk Dirksen backing vocals. Bobby Unrest. These are all pseudonyms. Michael Seidner backing. Bruce Calderwood. Bruce Lou's backing. So there's a lot of backing vocals here. Hygiene backing. Like literally the rest is just backing. And then you have your production credits, which is Norm as the producer. East Bay Ray produced also. Oliver DeSico and John Cooney Birdie. That's a weird name. Cooney Birdie. Engineer mixing, Kevin Mitkoff and Paul Stibline mastering. Judith Carlson did the front cover. Winston Smith did the artwork. Annie Harwood artwork. And Jello, of course, with the artwork.
Okay. Just like every album, huge fucking list of people.
Huge list of people who are like, again, this is like a punk band, their first album. So it's like
all that
people you don't know and people who have never probably done anything
all
else.
All that backing vocal shit is just make them up. It's probably just them with different pseudonyms. I mean, Dirk Dirksen is a music promoter in San Francisco. So I'm sure it's like friends. Like it's just all these people. Bruce Luce. Like music promoters and just people that own venues, stuff like that, that help the punk scene thrive and become.
Yeah.
so big.
Did really well also. Critically, got like pretty much all 4 out of 5s except for The Village Voice, giving it a C+. But 9 out of 10s. Rolling Stone 4 out of 5. All Music 5 out of 5. So yeah, seemed pretty good.
It still crushes to this day, man.
Yeah.
It's an album that I put on, and it's like I got to finish it
On
Gotta
iTunes.
finish
It's an essential album if you go to their profile. So you got it. It's an essential
Right.
album. It's like really big.
They only
on
got
their
4,
page.
so
Yeah.
I mean 4 really fantastic albums, but only 4. What more can we say about this? Because there's so much that I want to talk about, but probably doesn't have anything to do with this album.
Well, we're gonna we're gonna talk more about Jello later this month too, so we could fill in some more info.
And Jello, what a madman. They were saying some of the I found out like some of their first shows were just so crazy. Like he would immediately just like get up on stage and just start freeling back and forth, just all over. And people would like grab at him and pull at him, so he would end up without a shirt after the show,
Just
or
like now.
Yes, and then sometimes without his pants because they would grab his pants like they're doing right now, and it would always get so nuts. And what he always wanted from the crowd was for them to like engage and be a part of it.
Yeah.
Another cool thing was like, apologies everyone, fucking.
One day we'll have a studio and it'll be nice. Until then, Until then, there will be noises and stuff everywhere.
Smacking stands.
Yeah. Cups on.
God, no, when? No, I totally lost my point. I hope you're happy.
I won't be happy until we are in the space.
Right, working on a new practice spot / studio thing, just something that we can store more equipment in.
Yeah.
The musicians' biggest problems. They used to play at this venue called the Death Club, and it was because it was like a place where deaf people went to do like it's just like for deaf people. A center, but at night they would open it up to punk, bands.
Do whatever you want.
And deaf people loved it. They would show up because they could touch the stage and feel the vibrations, and everyone's freaking out in the crowd too. And like, what a visual to look at, right? Everyone just losing their mind and the vibrations coming through. So it was like they would just have so much fun. But I thought that was so interesting that like it was places like that and like places that had drag queen shows, and all these people were like lesser folks in society.
Yeah.
And they had a band together.
It's like the circus.
And, it's another reason why Jello Biafra was like, fuck it, I'll run for mayor then, because this is fucking bullshit. Like, someone's got to do something. And what can you do? Like, you're fighting a whole fucking like city of police,
Yeah.
Bunch of fucking assholes. I loved his idea of what he was running for mayor. One of his campaign ideas was to have all cops reapply every 4 years for their job, and also to have the neighborhoods where they walk their beats to have a yes or no whether or not they should get rehired. That's a fucking good idea, And that's like right off the top of his head where he was like, I'll fucking do it. And right before a show, he was like, well, I got to get my platform down, and just got a cocktail napkin, and started writing. So it's like, come on, it was kind of common sense, wasn't it? To like, we should definitely be doing something about this back then and not just ignoring it, until it becomes a huge fucking problem now. And that's so weird that this album has so much to do with that. In the whole state of where we're at, because the cop car is burning on the front of the album, all of it. And it's, you would always like, it's great. There's so many little like interviews or things that you can find of Jello Biafra talking about back then, and what things were like. And I remember some stories of him just talking was like, you could just like you would walk, like if you were just walking to the store late at night, cops would stop you and they would just beat the shit out of you for no reason. You know what I mean? Like just straight up, or just arrest you and just fucking throw you in jail just for shits and giggles, like because you wore a leather jacket or you had weird hair. And we grew up in a place kind of like that where, you know, a little, it's not Austin, where it's just a little outside of Austin, where it's just, God, very conservative, and it's very religious too.
Yeah.
And I've been stopped multiple times, you know, just wearing a Dead Kennedy shirt, walking around, and they're like, to, excuse me,
Burping.
oh God, you know, in hindsight, I was like 18, looking like I was 15 because of the way I dressed, so you kind of ask for it. But at the same time, it's like, why? I shouldn't be stopped on the side of the street and literally frisked, like hands behind my back. I should be able to just show an ID and walk away, not because I listen to a different style of music or I look this particular way. Like you should have the right to mess with me because I'm not conforming. That's like Nazi shit, you know? Not like conforming is Nazi shit. Like let's everyone be exactly alike. Why would anyone want that? That's not interesting at all. And God damn it, it just pisses me off. I love the Dead Kennedys because it was like, and it still is for me, like a go fuck you to yourself, because I love to put on these songs. I love to listen to all their albums still. And then the side projects, I'll sit here and like crow about Lard all day, or any of his little projects. I'm a drummer, but I have my favorite lead singers, you know, and he's one of my like 3 favorite lead singers that I just follow everything that they do. It's like him, Mike Patton, and one other person I can't think of right now, but I fucking can't say more.
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts? Damn it. It's crazy that Dead Kennedys still go on and play without Jello Biafra. I get how, you know, some people could be a little set. Just not. If you met Jello Biafra, you might not be his best friend. You know what I mean? I get it that, you know, he's kind of pretentious sometimes, and he's a little crazy. But I fucking love that, and it really makes the music that he does this charismatic and just energetic and insightful in some ways because of how far he goes down rabbit holes, you know. But they share the copyrights of music. They went to a court. They can both play those songs now.
Yeah, like, seems like there's a bit of a...
They're on tour with a different singer.
There's some differences going on. For the 25th anniversary, they did put out a documentary that accompanied the album, and it had like tour footage, never before seen live footage, interviews with Klaus and East Bay, comments from music journalists and people who worked on the recording and stuff. But the video omits all the origins of the songs that would include any mention of Jello, except they did mention his 1979 run for mayor. So they basically excluded him from the documentary.
So literally, why would you even make a fucking Dead Kennedys documentary and not include Jello Biafra? Yeah. Like, this is nuts.
So that's part of that tear and divide right there.
And I know it's like, I think it was East Bay Ray that put up the original ad, you know what I mean? And then Florentine or Fluoride.
Fluoride.
Yeah, joined. And then it was Jello Biafra. And then they found the drummer, you know? So how it was like already theirs before he showed up. Coming up with the name was pretty fun too. And also like playing on like the day that Kennedy died, where like a lot of people were protesting then, sending in bomb threats and shit like that.
Jeez.
So from the get-go, it was already like super iconic, but it was because, you know, Jello was in there too. And don't get me wrong, the rest of the band needed to be there because the music needed to happen.
Yeah.
So
that's just another piece of content people can look for if they want to.
Set your shit aside.
And kind of learn a little bit more. It's also,
I guess, if you want to watch it,
certified gold 100,000 units in 2010, which in 2010 it was certified diamond. Sorry, but it's
diamond. How far is
gold
that?
in the UK? Diamond is at least 2,500,000 copies.
That's not a lot.
Or which India? Yeah, at least, yeah. So it's not that
Oh,
much.
you think Diamond would be like a
Platinum's, I
billion?
guess, better than Diamond. So
What?
so I mean, I guess it just hasn't really sold as much. So
That's
being
that's a UK thing too. So
yeah,
they quoted a little listed.
well,
I'm gonna be weird about it.
so, yeah.
But yeah, go check out that.
Yeah, it's only a 30-minute album too, so it's like super quick to listen to. The album,
it's great.
Yeah, the documentary. I mean,
I'm sure if you're listening to this, you have definitely heard this album. I would suggest going out and listening to that podcast, No Dogs in Space, and definitely checking out their YouTube page, Independent Worm Saloon. It's just his label, you know what I mean? We didn't even get to talk about his label a lot.
yeah,
but we didn't. The reason why we didn't dive in and talk really in depth about the recording process and all that is because this is another punk album. We know how it was recorded. Their songs were already done. They just had to get it laid out, and they had to get the money for it. That's it's not a lot to talk about.
They literally recorded it in probably less than a month, May to June.
There's not a lot to talk about. There's not a lot to go into there. And Independent Worm Saloon or Independent Independent Tentacle,
Alternative Tentacles.
Fuck me.
Not that's a Butthole Surfers album.
I'm still thinking about the same style of music here. Okay, I'm just in the world of the weird. Just made up out of a necessity, like every other punk band, to literally push their own music because no one else would pick them up and there wasn't that many labels. But we already know this because we've already said it. So just in case you guys were curious, that's why we didn't really dive in too far. We just wanted to talk about the fun and the awesomeness of the Dead Kennedys because that's what we do.
Awesome. Yeah.
And yes, please go and follow us on YouTube. We're coming with ideas to kind of figure out these new rules and what we have to do to create and have content. So we'll get clever with it, move around it, and hopefully, in some ways, having these restrictions kind of forces us to come up with a better idea. So I'm trying to see the hindsight of this. You know what I mean?
Just making up our own original music, probably to fill in for stuff.
As long as we don't put this on Spotify,
we can't put it on anywhere, but we could put it on like Bandcamp for stuff. But yeah, that'll just be the new. We're gonna get into a new norm as far as being a musician in these Corona times, and then even after. So.
And yes, I'm just excited for all the new music that's coming out as well. So much music. Spotify, Instagram at BANGover Productions, Facebook. If you want to go over there, don't really care. Who the fuck cares? Yeah. Go to TeePublic and type in BANGover. You don't even have to put in Productions, and you can find all our merch there. We're getting some new designs drawn up, so looking forward to that. And coming up with creepy ideas for the Twitch stream in October as well.
Oh, really? I got to have a Halloween special.
I got some horror games I want to.
Oh, that
stream.
might be nice.
I got
do
some ideas.
Watch-alongs or something.
It's gonna be pretty. Scary.
That could be something Bria does for hers.
It's gonna be pretty scary. And then we'll probably get into like some really like grotesque like metal albums for Halloween as well.
Yeah.
Something that matches the scene, and because we're staying inside this Halloween. So
yeah, it's gonna be a weird Halloween.
Again, thank you all for listening, and good night.
Later.